coming, Mark.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay, so to start off, we're just going to go over the informed consent that you signed earlier.
Okay.
So I just want to touch base on some of the points. So I just want to go over that because I am a student, I can't offer you legal confidentiality. And the session will be recorded and shared with my instructor. And your session will be confidential unless you disclose situations including abuse or harm to yourself or to any others.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So we can discuss kind of what you're wanting to discuss, why you're here today.
All right. Well, I am in the near future looking at transition or the end of a potential or my job that I'm presently in. Working in the social service field for some 30 years, and that job will be ending, so it means that I will be looking at employment again.
Right. Okay. So you're figuring out what's next, or?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't want to retire yet, but at the same time I want to be able to do something maybe different. But yes, it's the next step. What does it look like for me at this point in time?
Okay. So what kind of field of job have you been in, and for how long?
Yeah, like I said, I've been mostly social service. So I've worked in youth justice. I worked with adults with addictions. I worked with the homeless a little bit. So I've done that kind of range of work, different nonprofits, but mostly in the social service supported reintegration services. Now I'm particularly in an environment where it's a restorative justice environment, so we're really working with clients to look to restore them to where maybe they were before.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is kind of the same field. You've been in the same field.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So is it coming to end because you're choosing to leave, or is it coming to end for different reasons?
Funding mostly. In this kind of work, you're often based on grants that you get. The jobs are based on those grants. This was a particular 4-year grant, and it will come to an end. And we're just not sure what the potential for it to be funded at a full level going forward. So really, it's the grant procedure that's causing this.
Okay. So in it ending, is that something that you're nervous for? Are you happy that this job's ending, or is it something that you're not really looking forward to ending?
I'm a little nervous about it. I think obviously I've been working in this field, in this area for many years. So for it to end, it's a sort of a difficult transition, so I'm not looking forward to it in some respects. I realize, particularly because of my age, getting up there in the 50s, that finding new careers and getting positions is a difficult process. So, the piece of that I don't look forward to. I also don't look forward to stepping away from something that I've done, that I do well, and that I've done for so long. It's you feel secure in the fact that you have a skill set that you're used to using and good at it that way. So, so there's some definite nervousness and fear around what does that look like going forward.
Okay. I heard you mention your age. Can you just kind of talk more of why that your age makes you nervous about the job being coming to an end?
Well, I think it's I've been in some transitions before where I found that as I've been older, it's harder for companies to invest.
Right.
They like to invest in youth. They like to invest in people that maybe they feel have newer knowledge and newer ways of doing things. So I've found that it's in those competitions that I don't fare as well as maybe someone new coming out of university, or someone maybe with 10 years experience that's a little younger. Because companies know that, maybe in 5 years I'm going to be done, or leaving on for retirement or whatnot. So it's harder for them to make that investment.
Okay. So I've been hearing you say, so I feel like your skill set's really strong in the social work. That's probably one of your strengths, would you say? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's what I went to school for that, and all the work that I've done has been in that vein, whether it be youth or adults and in different settings, but yeah, that's been the collected skill set that I've been focusing on.
Okay. So do you plan on using that skill set in the future for a future job, or are you planning on trying to branch out into something else?
I've been considering doing something different. It's a skill set that I do know that I can fall back on, and it's been useful. But I've been looking at branching into some other areas. I've been a hobby sort of photographer for a good chunk of my life. Started that when I was in my 20s, and gotten to the level where I feel like I could do that professionally, and I really enjoy it. It's one of those sort of passion things for me, but it's also one of those things where it raises a whole bunch of different sets of questions as to, skill sets and ability and that kind of transition as to whether I could actually accomplish that.
Right.
So yeah, that's one that I have. I have some other concepts that I've looked at, talked to other police officers, and they encouraged me to go and look at being a special constable, working in the court system, or working in even transportation and some work with clients that way as a sort of another concept to look at. But right now, photography has been the sort of main focus that I've been looking at or thinking about anyway.
Okay. So I'm just going to kind of go back and talk about, you talked about coming to an end in this job. I just want to talk about what kinds of things in your life is that going to impact for you?
Well, I mean, I think obviously if I don't have another job, you immediately look at the financial piece, right? We're saving for retirement, so a steady income is something that's important. Being able to continue to put money into a retirement plan. So I'm concerned that has some impact on us. My wife right now is working more in a consultative way, working in the staging industry, and she's been able to do that because I have had a full-time job, and I've been able to give some space for her to explore those creative sides for her as well. So that has impact as well, right? I think it has, even impact just in terms of the energy and stress. If I talk about the idea of doing photography, often entrepreneurs like that, they work sometimes 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and it's all up to them, right? So I think about it, how will that be for my stress? How will I be able to manage doing all of that? So yeah, so definitely have some impact that way. It could just be a different lifestyle as well, away from the house, maybe traveling a little more, to pursue that piece. So yeah, there's a lot of areas that I think it would impact.
Okay. So I heard you talk about impacts that take a lot of different energy than you're getting out now. Do you think that would impact maybe like your health or more physical activity in photography? Or
Sure, I think it could. I mean, I could always use it, get more physical activity and be out there, be more active. But yeah, I think it would take a different energy level for me to go out. And I'm even going out and doing it now. I find sometimes that if I'm going out for a long walk, I'm pretty tired, and you have to pursue that. You have to be able to sometimes do long days, and particularly in some of the areas that I'm looking at, photography, and sometimes you're going into areas where it requires climbing and moving around, all the stuff that works better when you're younger, maybe not as well when you're a little older. So sure, I'm concerned about my ability to do it physically, my energy level. Wish I had the energy of a 20-year-old, but I don't. And so, yeah, those are concerns that I think that I'll have to face when I look at this.
Right. Okay, so I'm feeling like one of your goals here is to come out of this job and to maybe look into more photography. Would you say that's one of your goals?
I would say that's probably the number one thing that I'm looking at right now and trying to work towards. Yes, that definitely would be one of the goals that I would say is on my mind right now.
Okay. So how would you think you would be able to meet that goal? What different things are you doing or will you do to look into finding a career in photography?
I'm doing a number of things right now. So I'm developing a bit of a business plan. So I'm looking at sort of the financial implications in terms of doing market research in the areas of my interest. I'm looking at other photographers and even partnerships with other photographers. I'm also looking at new technologies and trying to incorporate all of that into a business plan that I can then sort of formulate as direct direction that I want to head.
Okay.
So there's a lot of work that I'm doing just to really establish that business plan. So it's new training, some different courses that I want to take. I want to connect up with other photographers who might are doing the same thing. Start getting some information from them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of activities that I'm doing outside of when I'm working, but activities that I'd like to accomplish to sort of see if I can make that work.
Okay. So in photography, what kind of specific area are you hoping to get into more?
Well, I'm a nature photographer, I would say, primarily, but I've always have been a real drawn towards the classic cars or automobile photography as well. I've spent many years photographing hood ornaments as an interest in details in vehicles, and so I'm sort of looking to expand that maybe in the classic car or the automotive industry as far as collector cars or modified cars. My idea is really to be able to provide a package for them that accentuates their car in a way that's sort of shows the strength and the story of the effort they put into restoring it or purchasing it and making it look the best they possibly can. So that's really the area that I'm looking at. I want to be able to tell their story, right? To tell their story, why the car, what is about this car that connects, and sort of expand their story and tell it for others as well.
That's really cool. I like that idea. So going back to you talking about finances, so if you were to get into photography, how do you feel that would impact your finances?
Well, obviously you go freelance in the sense that you don't know what your next job coming for, so you don't have the steady income. So you really have to then go out and hustle in the sense that you have to go connect with clients, make the deals, get things set up. So typically, sometimes that happens in cycles, right? Where summer maybe it's better, winter sometimes it's not as good because people aren't sort of inclined towards that. In the classic car range, most people put their cars away for the winter.
Right.
So immediately you're looking at some what do I do during that time? So yeah, there's some concerns financially. It might not be the same dollar value that I'm getting now as working in social work, and so that obviously has some impact that I'm trying to figure out how to sort of solve in the meantime.
So how does that kind of make you feel, or what does that mean for your future if your finances wouldn't be the same?
Well, it always makes you feel a little nervous. It doesn't feel good to have to be thinking that you have to make decisions based on not having finances. We talk about the house we live in, and do you sell? Do you look for your retirement place to be able to downsize and put some of that money away and live a little differently to try to while you're trying to make the job work. So there's a lot of decisions that are now sort of in front of me in order to, how do I make it work? Can it work? So it has impact, and it has impact on family in terms of where they are at. Kids are scattered. My wife is working locally, so I can't just move off and say, let's go up north and find a retirement place if everyone else is still here and wanting to maintain connections. So there's a lot of sort of moving parts when it comes to sort of figuring this out, and that's where I feel like I'm at right now.
Okay, so since that you're kind of feeling unsure about maybe what that would bring to the future.
Yep.
Okay, so thinking about that, you were talking about ways to meet your goal of becoming a photographer would be connecting with other photographers, taking classes. What do you think would be your basic entryway into a photographer job? So would you be able to start off as a nature photographer, or would you have to start somewhere else? Where do you think those job opportunities could come from?
I think the job opportunities are at least what I'm seeing out there, tend to be sort of the more straightforward photography type of jobs. So maybe you're taking pictures for a car magazine, or you're taking pictures for an auto sales magazine, or online magazine for cars. So I can look at those kind of things as being particular stepping stones, maybe. I think that the unique thing about nature photography now is that there are many people who are doing this. With technology now, there are a lot of very talented individuals who do a lot of nature photography. So it's hard to really eke out a business in that vein. I can sell prints, which I would always do anyway. But I'm finding what I'm looking at is maybe new technology around 3D and virtual reality technology. Trying to look at those areas with photography to fuel some of the other stuff that I would do. And find entry jobs maybe in those kind of positions, even if they are entry in terms of freelance and contracts as opposed to a full-time job, which, you know, that would work as well, and that might be something I may have to do first before I can actually reach out and go freelance on my own that way.
Okay, so you sound like in regards to your goal, like you have a good sense of what to do, and you're feeling organized and researched and that kind of goal, and
somewhat.
how you block it out.
Yeah.
What would you say if that didn't end up happening? What do you think would be an alternative goal for you with your job ending? So say photography doesn't work out, what is kind of another goal or job or opportunity that you think that you could pursue?
Well, I think as I mentioned, there are some of my other police officer friends have sort of talked about, you know, maybe working for the court system as a special constable and looking at that area. People feel like I have the experience with you know, being in the justice system that I would sort of understand and be able to fit into that well. So that would be something that I would explore. I think I'd also look at you know, setting up a little bit of consulting work or an ability to do consulting work that might work with nonprofits looking to sort of set up programs or establish things that way based on the experience that I've had. So, you know, again, consulting work is somewhat similar to the photography end because it's not full time, right? So I mean, obviously the other option might be is if I get to that point, that maybe it is stepping back into another social service entry level position or something just to keep the income coming in while I look at the other aspects of photography or other opportunities. So yeah, I have a few things that I would consider to be plan B's and C's, but we're not sure how they're going to play out.
Yeah, I understand that. So, how would you feel about stepping back into the social service work? Is that something that you would look forward to, or not really looking forward to?
I think you know, there are some aspects that I really do enjoy. I really enjoy working with the clients. I enjoy connecting with them. I enjoy working with them to help see success in their lives. But at the same time, that work can be taxing. It can be I've done it for you know, 30 years approximately, and you know, there's times when the weight of those personalities and the weight of the responsibility and the weight of just what these individuals are facing weighs down on me. And so there's times when I feel like I'm tired and would like something else to do. And I think that's really what's fueled the photography end, because it really is a different venue. It's a different concept. And I mean, not that there's not difficulties and things to work through, but it's a different view in terms of that. So yeah, there would be parts of it that I think I would enjoy and I still am connected to, but parts of it where maybe I'm done with that for now and want to be able to move on.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is really that it's one of your major strengths, but it might also be it's kind of tiring you out and over the past few years, and maybe a new opportunity would be something that would renew your energy.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a fair statement.
Okay. So in kind of regards to that, if you were to get into in regards to you feeling tired, if you were to get into a social service career again, how do you think that would impact your life in those different areas of financial, your health, maybe your relationship with your wife? Do you think it would be something that would last long term?
I would think that more than likely not. I mean, the potential for it not to, you know, for me to sort of realize that maybe it is time that I move on and I sort of come to that realization again. I guess I use it as a backup because that's what I've known and I can fall back to that. But I think that's also what's fueling the going forward into something new and different, because probably my system's saying, you know, maybe it is time to move on and maybe you've done it enough. It's always that tension around the fact that you've done that there's a skill set. I enjoy working with you guys. I enjoy working in that area, but it can be really tiring, and it has been
Right.
taxing. So it's that push-pull, right? What's the impact if I don't, right? Not having a steady job, not
Yeah.
having steady income, you know, changing some of the goals for retirement and some of the plans to travel or whatever maybe can't be accomplished if we don't have something
Right.
steady. So it's that tension of, do you go back in there and do what you need to do to make that work
Right.
in hopes to maintain some income, or do you try something different and see if that sort of helps to, you know, change your perspective and gives you new energy,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that maybe there's a decision to be made on which side you possibly lean towards. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think that as far as your goals, like I see that your goal in becoming a photographer, and then you have your alternate goal of going back into social work, and that you have action for both of them. And so for your photography, maybe that's like your main goal that you're focusing on right now, would you say?
Yeah, I would say that's the number one focus. Put a lot of energy probably over the last little while, and the intent is to put more energy to it into the duration of the length of time I have on my contract.
Okay.
So hopefully by the time I come to the end of that contract, I'll have a definitive go or no go kind of perspective, or
Right.
at least positioned to give it a shot.
Okay. So I think that it sounds like you have a real good plan in place for meeting your goal, and I think you should be really encouraged in that. And even though you have a decision to make, I feel like you have put a lot of effort into figuring out what's coming next. So it's really great.
Thanks.
So thanks for coming, Mark. It's been
No
really
problem.
awesome to talk with you, and I hope that I can talk with you again.
Look
in the
forward to it.
future. Okay, thanks, Mark.
Okay.